So little tiny scene setup, capsule, the actual player input won't necessarily matter in this situation. And I got two little targets here. Now, I put a tiny bit of logic, but it's only like get input and move based on camera direction. And I got just a free look camera. Right, so pretty standard, pretty normal, it's all good. And we want to make a lock-on system. So, how do we do that? Well, you would think I could just swap targets, but with the free look camera, you have the anchor points and the looking, and then you get some weird effects. Nah, it doesn't look good. So I think the easiest way to do it is you make an empty child of the player. He's our camera target. And then I'm actually going to make a whole other camera, just a virtual cam. And he is going to follow this little target. You can even look at this target right now, doesn't matter. And his position is going to be 0, only he'll go up a little bit. We'll put him up like, I don't know, somewhere around there. And it looks silly. Oh yeah, now let's turn him off. So, the other thing is we have this guy here, and this will become really important depending on how fast you want the lock-on to happen, and you'll see what I mean here. Okay, so the first thing we need is to not worry about this logic, but is to build some new logic. So we need some sort of lock-on system. So I'm actually going to use an array list. And that was totally the wrong component. There we go. So now we have a list. And what we're going to do is we are going to get some sort of input. Let's just get the key down. Alright, let's do left control. There we go. So this will be lock on, and of course we'll have a lock off as well. So when we lock on, when we hit that key, what do we want to happen? We need to overlap, and we're going to go into this guy because we need to fit all that in there. We need a range. We'll say 10. We could put a mask on it if we wanted to, right? Like if these guys, if they were on, I'll put them on an enemy layer. So we're only going to scan for enemy layer. Whoops. There we go. Alright, so we cast an overlap. Then we're ultimately, what we want to do is see how big that list is. So let's just finish that. You don't have to, we can actually do it all in one state, but whatever. So we're going to now go into this same list that we are now using, and we're going to get the count. Because ultimately, if we hit the button and there is nothing there, which I wonder if that would almost be easier with a normal array. because if I remember right, if we do with array list, we'll have to remove the array. We can always reset it. Whatever. Okay, so if it's 0, it's empty. There's nothing there. If it's less than 0, then we've created magic some frickin' how. And we can have targets. So empty and has target. So if we're empty, we're just going to go back to the button and wait to try again. Alright, so if we have targets, all we really want to do is ultimately switch cameras and control. It's a little bit more logic. But all I'm going to do is we're going to build another FSM, and this will be the LockOn cameras. Oh, it's weird, lowercase c. So if we have targets, what do we want to do? Well, we need to tell this thing it needs to do something. So because I like using them, we're going to use some enums. So enum creator wizard. If you don't have that, you have to get playmaker and you'll get it. I mean, or you can just look up enum creator in the ecosystem. So let's go. We'll call it camera lock. So we're only going to have 2 states. I mean, we could use a bool for this, but I like enums. Camera lock on. Camera controller. So now we have an enum. So all we need to do is in here we have an enum, which will be that enum that we just made. Which is going to be type com and camera lock. Right, so we're on controller or camera lock. We'll default it to controller. So here all we're going to do is enum compare. Hit that twice, and take our camera state, and if we are equal to lock on, pretty self-explanatory. And over here, if we're not equal, we'll just call it lock off, which sounds weird, but hey, whatever works. So back in our lock-in, all we need to do here is set FSM enum. So this is kind of more of the control system in the inputs, and then the other one's going to control the actual cameras. Right, so the camera state, which is this type, is now going to be lock on. So the other thing we'd probably want to do is this guy's going to need another variable for a target. There we go. So what are we going to do? We need to give it that target. So we have targets. We need to set FSM game object. Target. We need to give it a target. So let's give it a target. Let's do you know what? Let's go right into an array list get next. So now we can go into here, type game object, store that as the target. Loop is going to be next target. and finished will be repeat. So repeat, I'm just going to go like that. So next target is going to, he'll do that. And if we get, I don't know if we want to use that key, but we need a key. So let's, what would be a good cancel button? If left control locks on, and no, not a cancel button, a next, let's use tab. Tab, and that'll be switch. We could actually go two different ways here. We can go up and down the list if we use the previous, but and switching, all we're going to do is go in there. I'm just going to go back, which will pump it, and we'll get to the next guy in the list. Right? Like I said, now if I went array list get previous, we could actually have a previous and just move down, but whatever. So the other thing we need is we need a way to cancel the whole bloody thing. So this will be lock on, we'll call it lock off. And if we lock off, then we need to do something like this. Only we say lock, or put it to the controller. Right, which I could probably stick that right here. And then he would probably just go sit over there. So this guy actually needs to sit right there. So essentially we're going to get them through the list, and we can iterate through the list with this. We can even see that happen with the tab, and if we hit left control, it'll cancel. Right, so if I come over here and hit control, we should have a target, which is cube 1. I hit tab, we go to the next cube, and I can just alternate between them. And I hit control, and we're back to here. Right, so that part works just fine. So what is this end? Right, we have lock on, lock off. So if we are in this guy, we're in the controller state, and if we're in the controller state, we know we want this guy to be on and this guy to be off. Oh, him off, him on. And over here we're going to just swap it. But that's not good enough. No sirree, it's not. And I'll show you why. Because we want to position this camera. Right, so if I come along here and I hit control, apparently he's going to, yeah, like he's doing weird stuff. Obviously not good. So we have to set this target for one, because I never bothered doing that. But that's not the main thing. No. So he is virtual cam set look at target, and that is, okay, we need that virtual camera, and that's our target. And I'll move him to the top. So we also need a way to update this. Because if we don't, then if we switch, more or less, if we switch lock-ons, those states won't, or that camera won't update. So here, if we say next target, No, come in here and we hit switch. No, we need to go into a new state and send an event, which is just going to be a update. And we would have to do it after we get that. Because when we're going to get that, we get the next target. Okay, we get the next target, we would then update. But we don't want to more or less, I guess we can throw this stuff in here. Make sure it's in the order of we're going to give it its target, set our enum, tell it to update. Then we do that. So when we switch, we can go to here. So it does this kind of weird. There. Next target, set the stuff, update, wait for the inputs, turn it off. Alright, so over here. So we update. So we tell this guy he's got a new target. Okay, cool. So now I'll show you what I meant to show you the first time. Now that we actually have a target. And how we're going to fix it. So I hit control. We have that. But you notice where the camera's sitting in relative to our player? Like, okay, it's cool. But that's freaking ugly. Right? Like it's working. And if I hit tab, go to that target. I can just swap back and forth. Hit control, we go back to this mode. So, you know, it's working, but it's ugly as hell. So how do we fix that? We need to get some positions. We're going to do some vector math because we can't have fun without doing math. So we need to get the position of our target. And we need to get position of ourselves. Those have to be every frame. And once we have those positions, order, this is going to be very critical. We need to take our target position minus player's position, subtract, and we get a new vector, which is going to be our direction every frame. Then we want to normalize that. So we normalize direction every frame, place it at the bottom, and then we multiply. And we need to multiply the distance that we want on that direction, right? So maybe we'll go like 6 every frame. And then vector 3 operator again. Move this one all the way to the bottom. We're just going to keep moving shit to the bottom. Player's position and the direction, we're going to add them, and this one's going to be the final position every frame. And then finally we need to set position right at the bottom of our little camera target, world space every frame to the final position. There we go. So here we are, we can look around, we can move. I hit tab in here, nothing happens, but I hit control, and we totally did the opposite math. We should just need to reverse that shit. I mess that up so often. Player's position minus the target's position. There we go. It's funny how just the order of things is just so critical. Alright, so we hit control. No, now we hit control. So we've locked on and we're behind the player and we're staying behind the player. Right, and that's kind of what we want. I hit tab. We're going to swap over. Hit control. We go back into this mode. Hit control. Go into lock-on mode. And if I push forward, because I'm moving relative to the camera, which is more the controller thing. I mean, you can set that up any way you want. Right. If I push forward, I'm going towards them. Right. So I'm doing my strafes. And I would imagine during lock-on you'd want to alter your controller so that maybe you're doing strafes where in normal mode, in the normal mode maybe you're not doing strafes. So the other thing we would want to do here is in here, let's also get distance. Right? Why not? Move that to the top. So we're going to get our distance from ourselves to the target. And just do a float compare. And if distance, make sure you get your math right on this too. Because here we're doing a range of 10. So maybe we'll do like 12. And if we're greater than that, we're just going to call the lock off event. Right, so we hit controls. We're locked onto this guy. Now without hitting control, I'm just going to move backwards. We're just going to, there we go. Right, we move back in. See, now there is one issue there. So if I hit tab, I can't go to the other target. Right. If I lock off, lock on, I can go to both targets. So we want to fix that. Because essentially, and we actually could use triggers for this, but that's kind of a shitty way to do things. Because if we are here and we hit switch, we'd almost want to cast another overlap. You know? You almost want to go right back over there. Let's see how that works. Might have to alter this action here. Right, because if I hit, okay, let's, get away from the other guy first. If I control my lock on. So now if I hit tab, now I can, like he'll go back and forth. And if I hit tab, should probably almost put a check into there. Yeah, see now here's kind of the issue where he's this here is that list just keeps filling, and we don't want that. Right? That's where, which is where using the normal arrays might be a little better for this. Because they'll automatically clear out. So we want to clear. We kind of want to just remove all. We don't want to reset. We can create a new list. have the reset here. All right, you know what? Let's just go with the normal array, because the normal array will automatically do that for us. We don't have to worry about it, right? Because up here we can just instead of the array list cast overlap, or we just do an overlap. We can do find overlaps or get overlap sphere, and essentially it's the exact same thing. All right. Don't include owner. We can do targets. Enter our next frame event in. I mean, we could just use this, right? Then we don't have to do any of this garbage, right? We could say we found targets, so we has targets. Use the next frame event and use that as a finished, and have the finish go back over here. And then obviously we'd have to change this guy because he can't use the array list get next, but we can use an array get next. Or we can use an array get. Beyond that, let's say next target, so we just want to set those the exact same thing. Repeat target, and those are the same. Right, so that's the difference. Now, like I said, now on the beauty side of the normal arrays, normally you'd want to go with the list for most stuff, but I think in this case the normal array is going to be better. Because if you watch the array, right, it only has those two. And if I step backwards, you know, we go there. And so it's kind of auto clearing itself, which is just kind of a nice little feature. Also kind of a nice bonus that if I'm onto this guy and I go here, oh, no, not quite. To which, I mean, we could do, if the distance is far, instead of doing the lock off, run through the list and check to see if any of their distances are below that, and if so, just automatically swap to those, and if not, then do the lock off. But that's something you can add if you want, entirely up to you. But that is a nice little lock-on system, right? So we have our camera, more or less our camera swapping system that also controls this guy's position, so he's always on the opposite of our target, and then the actual button controls that handles the array, to which you technically don't need to use the array get next. We could just use an integer and just add and subtract and get from the array. That's how that works.